call the meeting to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, 1.3, approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 2.1, Board Member District 1, Position 1, Applicant Public Interviews by Board of Education. What we're going to do here, we have two candidates, both are here. I have two sheets of paper. Deb wrote the names on them and folded them up tightly so I can't see who's on here. I'm going to have Lana draw one. Whoever she draws will be interviewed first. The other one will wait in the hall, and then we'll flip-flop when the first one finishes. And we have the TV in the hallway off? Okay. All right, the first candidate will be Julie Aldridge.
I don't need a microphone.
Yeah.
I got a voice that carries. I got a mom voice. Plus, there's not a lot of people here. We're not full, so. Huh? I don't need a microphone. You heard me last night.
All right, Julie, thank you for coming, and thank you for your desire to put in for this. How this is going to work, I'm going to give you a minute to just introduce yourself, and then we're going to do a round table of questions, starting with me and moving to the left. We each have two questions, but we'll do one per round.
Okay.
At the end of the second round, I'll give you a chance to ask any further questions if you have them.
Okay.
All right? No. You can make notes.
Those could just make notes. Yeah.
We're not always unprepared.
Gotta have a teacher.
To be fair, this is the first time we do it.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Greg. That helps too.
All right, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Okay, I am Julie Aldridge. I live in Gardner. I've been here since 2000, raised two children, two grandchildren who we've adopted. All four have graduated Gardner High School. We now have a granddaughter in the district who will be in first grade. Yeah, I'm a substitute special ed teacher in another district, but Gardner's our home.
All right. I will start off with the first question.
Okay.
What is the school board member's role and responsibility? And how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
Okay. The school board itself is to represent every student in the district without an agenda except for students. Students is our number one. That is the reason why the school board is here. They also bring in the curriculum, the athletics, academics, everything to do with a student. Superintendent's job is to kind of make sure everything flows. Make sure it goes with the flow, make sure it works, make sure it's operable, but yet he answers to the school board.
All right, thank you.
Ready for the next one? Okay. High-functioning boards are able to move forward as one after votes are taken where there are differences of opinion between members. What is the best way to address these differences of opinion on the BOE or between the BOE and the administration?
There are a lot of times you can agree to disagree, but you have to be an adult about it. Middle school, childish behaviors are not acceptable. You just take a deep breath, agree, you can disagree, leave your agendas out of it, and just, move forward.
Thank you.
What do you see as our district's strengths and weaknesses?
I'll start with strengths because there's a lot of weaknesses right now. Strengths are athletics, which is, I mean, yeah, they've state championships this year. This last school year has been phenomenal since we've lived here. Academics are still there, yes. Weakness is number 4, SPED. That's where the weakness has to be brought up. So, yeah, we can do a lot to change the SPED. Retain our teachers. Why are they leaving? I know why a lot of the SPED teachers have left. I've talked to a lot of them that have gone up to another district. So we need to keep the good teachers here. We need to keep the best SPED teachers here. So that's the big weakness.
My question is, which of our BOE goals listed above you and across is most important to you and why?
4. Same reason. SPED right now, and I will say this, is a dumpster fire. It has been for a few years. It's still on fire. There are a lot of changes needed. Yeah, we need to keep our SPED teachers. They're gone. What else can we do? We have to hire SPED teachers that are going to stay here, that are going to be appreciated, that are going to be respected. They love working with these kids. We
Thank
just
you.
have to keep them.
I'd like to get your opinion on, as we approach, especially with the new bond issue and looking to the future, your opinion on the district as a 1 or 2 high school town and district.
That's another good question. Since we live on the other side of the tracks, we moved here when the high school was first opened. It used to be over at Wheat Ridge. That was the high school. We've grown that much. It depends on how much we grow. We still have that freshman wing available at this current high school. We can reutilize that wing for incoming freshmen if and when we get that big again. When the day comes, if the day comes, I can see a 2 high school town. I don't see it in the next 5 years, if not longer.
Special education excellence is one of our top priorities for USD231. Our special education students make up a large number in our district and do not exist in a vacuum within the district or our school community. Please describe what strategies you would support to eliminate the silos that can develop between general education and special education.
Thank you for that SPED question, Katie. I'm a firm believer of SPED. 3 of my 4 kids went through SPED through this district. Every kid needs to be seen and heard. Whether it's a SPED student, a gen ed student, just a kid who needs a little bit of support, everyone needs to be helped. When it comes to SPED, again, we gotta get those teachers in and we've got to keep them. We have to unify every school to know that there's a SPED student, their brains work a little different, their bodies work a little different, but they can still learn. That's where a lot of the bullying comes from also, is a lot of gen ed kids don't understand SPED kids, so they're gonna pick on them. They're gonna bully them. We need to stop that bullying and offer acceptance to everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, round 2. How does a school board balance the need to provide a quality education with the need to respond to the local taxpayer burden?
You're talking to me as a taxpayer now. We've got our 4 kids through. We're still paying taxes on these schools. We're still here. We got a granddaughter in. I have nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews in this district. We love Gardner for that reason. As the taxpayer, you gotta pay the money to send your kids to school, whether you have kids in the district or not. Your neighbors have kids. Your relative have kids. You know, people in this community have kids. You have to support those kids at every facet.
Thank you.
What issues do you believe our district needs to address in its academic program?
I saw the latest test scores in math and English. They're not the best. They were better when we first moved here. They've kind of waxed and waned a little bit. We got to get those test scores back up. You know, a lot of it comes with teacher retention. The teachers have to be appreciated and respected.
Thank you.
Tell us about a workplace situation that required you to work as a team to get it resolved.
Every day. Every day. I work in SPED. I live and breathe SPED in another district. You have kids who have off days. You can either go and help accompany them, help them get out of whatever frustration they're having, or you can work with the rest of the classroom and kind of, you know, be that classroom person, teacher, to support the classroom while they're having their behaviors or meltdowns or whatever time that they need. So you have to work together to help each other and to bring all the students back to cohesion.
Oftentimes I should have my microphone on. Oftentimes we have to make decisions that don't always leave people happy. Are you prepared to lose some of your closest friends and even disappoint people you respect, especially when the circumstances prevent you from defending or explaining your decisions?
Yeah, I do. I have people, I'm very outspoken in the community. I don't have a lot of close friends because I am that outspoken, but I speak up for our kids. I speak up primarily for those SPED kids. They have to have that chance.
Thank you.
Could you please describe for us how your education and work experience will lend themselves to serving on the board and as a representative?
I work in another district. I've been over there since 2011 or 2012. I don't remember anymore. Like I said, I've had 4 kids go from early childhood all the way through the high school, through trials even for one of them. You know, you have to work with everyone to make sure every level is working together cohesively. You can jump in and, you know, you got to learn everybody.
And your education side as well?
My education
And
side,
clarify that for us?
yeah. I teach everywhere from early childhood to 21 program.
Okay.
I'm a substitute special ed teacher. I go where the need is.
Okay.
I open programs, I close programs, I help programs survive. I'm always, my foot's in the door.
When staffing shortages between paraprofessionals, reading specialists, therapists, special education teachers affect children with special education programming, the district may be legally out of compliance with those children's individual IEPs. What measures do you think the Board of Education can take to help ensure that students with different abilities receive the support and services that they're entitled to?
That's not just our district here. That is pretty much everywhere. Shortages everywhere. As a substitute teacher, you jump in. You fill that role of a para. You fill that role of whatever you need to at that moment. You get those IEP minutes filled and filled to the best that you can. And if it takes anybody here in this board building who has a teaching license to come in and help teach, I've been in that position too, where we've had. And it comes in handy a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question, Katie.
Sorry. In closing, do you have any questions from us or any comments you would like to make that you feel weren't answered in the questions?
No, my big issue right now is SPED and how big of a fire it's under, and it's been for years. We need to stop the bleeding. we need to get in there. I don't want to say fix the issue, but we need to support what's going on there and find a solution. And, yeah, stop it.
All right, thank you for your time.
You are welcome, thank you. I will send him in.
Julie, there's no problem with you staying in, so you won't hear, you've already heard the questions. But, yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna.
Oh, I didn't know if she was gonna stay out there afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
Public meeting.
All right, Pat, how this is gonna go, I'm gonna give you a minute to introduce yourself, and then we're gonna do 2 rounds of questions, starting with me, working to my left, and then after the end of the second round, I'll give you a chance to ask any questions you might have of us. Okay?
All right.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Patrick Ross. I've lived in Gardner here almost 20 years. I've got 5 children, 3 boys, 2 girls. I grew up here in Stillwell, a couple towns over. My parents still live out there. I come from a big family. I played football and baseball collegiately. Got a couple degrees of logistics and management. And, you know, I enjoy spending time with my family and friends as much as possible. And coached them for many years. And so, look forward to potentially joining the board and having an impact with the Gardner community and making decisions that make the district stronger and better, and as a guide to other districts to look after and follow.
All right. First question. What is the school board member's role and responsibility, and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
Well, as a board member, right, we're to supervise or look after the superintendent and supervise his day-to-day operation or the administration's care as far as following district policies and procedures that we would implement. As a board member, you oversee large expenditures or those and managing the budget, and so a clear separation of our responsibilities.
Thank you.
Okay. High-functioning boards are able to move forward as one after votes where there are differences of opinion between the members. What is the best way to address differences of opinion on the Board of Education or between the Board of Education and the administration?
Well, we all have our different opinions and experiences that form our opinions. I think it's important to you be respectful, be a good listener, understand, those disagreements and why they exist. But ultimately, there's, it's a decision that needs to be made. There are going to always be differentiating opinions, and as long as, you're considering each other's differences and coming to as a group together and making a decision, those disagreements can cause conflict, but staying respectful and being a good listener, and that's why there's a board to make those decisions. Not everyone is going to agree on things.
Thank you.
What do you see as our district's strengths and weaknesses?
Strengths of the ATC program, something that I didn't have growing up that I wish that we did have. I've got a couple children that have benefited from that, and I think the more closely we can have that mirroring some type of trade school, I think the better off that program will be. So that's definitely a good strength of the district. I think recently some weaknesses is maybe our SPED program and our teacher retention that we've potentially struggled, or that we have struggled here recently. I think we've got a director back in place leading that program, and so some positive things there. I think there's some recent changes with the various groups in the school alignments and keeping those groups together as they advance up through the schools, elementary school to middle school. I think those are some positive changes, but that program used to be a very strong, used to be a highlight of Kansas, and I think here it's struggled. So that's a current weakness, I would say.
My question. Which of our BOE goals listed above you and across is most important to you, and why?
Well, I'd say children's success, parental engagement, and then I would say the staff. Obviously, it's hard to argue which one would be most important. Obviously, the children's success is critical, and that's why we're all here. But that doesn't happen without the teachers and the educators and the support for those leaders. And so I'd say a child's success is I would have to put number one.
Thank you.
Patrick, I'd like to get your opinion on USD231 Gardner Edgerton as a 1 or 2 high school town.
Oh. Although it's a small town, it's a big small town, and I'd like to see 2 high schools. I think, this is one thing that's impacted my children, is the number of opportunities within the one high school. It has been limited, just as far as sports activities. There's been, 60 plus kids going out for a freshman high school baseball team, and there's 9 starting spots, right? Same with dance and my daughter's dance history. There was a initiative to kind of keep the team smaller with such a big school, and I don't think it's good. I think the more opportunities, and even if it's just at the club level, I think 2 high schools would bring those opportunities and really help the students' involvement and development.
I gotta pull mine back up again. 1 second. Special education excellence is one of our top priorities for USD 231. Our special education students make up a large number in our district and do not exist in a vacuum within the district or our school community. Please describe what strategies you would support to eliminate the silos that can develop between general education and special education.
Well, I think I've heard of recent statistics that our funding from the state legislature is 20 or 25% short. I think that has a real impact on what we can do and takes away from our general budget. And I think it's critical that that we join the other districts that are continuing to push for that to get that fully funded. It's as far as a siloed improvements, it's just really, the more that you have, as much as you can, that are safe for both parties involved, have those students working together and in environments that are, don't allow for the silo to occur.
Round two. How does a school board balance the need to provide a quality education with the need to respond to the local taxpayer burden?
Well, like my family budget, there are hard decisions that have to be made. And they're not easy, it's difficult. And you have to tell your children no at times. And it's not fun, it's difficult, but in a very similar approach, decisions have to be made with the ultimate goal of the best education product that you can manage with the funds available. So hard decisions have to be made, and you do what you can with the funds available.
Thank you.
Okay, ready? What issues do you believe our district needs to address in its academic program?
Well, I think it's obviously critical that there are measurements and tests that exist. I think it's critical that an individual plan really is put out there for each individual student that allows them to really excel at those things that they're passionate about and they care about. It's really providing that ability for them to have a really custom blueprint for success for that child. So, making sure that, leaders and counselors and various paras and teachers are engaged with students, identifying students that are not maybe excelling or succeeding as you'd like to see, and really just not leaving anybody behind.
Thank you.
Tell us about a workplace situation that required you to work as a team to resolve it.
I do this on a daily basis. I've been a business analyst or a project manager. My current title is a solution architect for a software company, and we implement clients and such on new technology with pretty strict deadlines and budgets, and everyone on a team has various strengths, and it's really keeping open communication with each other and utilizing each other's strengths that you have to hit those deadlines and under budget as expected. So I'm often communicating as often as possible with issues that arise, and so it's really just keeping an open communication with team members, and ensure if they've got roadblocks or issues with accomplishing their goals and tasks and such with the project, that potentially reaching out to other team members that can help support and provide knowledge or help with tasks and such that need to get done.
Thanks.
Often we have to make decisions that leave don't leave everybody satisfied. Are you prepared to lose some of your closest friends and even disappoint people you respect, especially when the circumstances prevent you from defending or explaining your decision?
Well, if I were to lose a friend due to a decision that I thought was best, I would probably say that that probably wasn't a really good friend to start with. But you know, as a leader, there are hard decisions that have to be made, right? That's so budgets and such are limited. You know, although we'd like to have everything that we ask for, you know, it's not realistic. And so those decisions, you know, it's not something that would bother me. I'm make decisions, and if people want to ridicule me over them, whether I can disclose why I made the decision or not, it's part of the job and being a leader.
Thank you.
Great. Patrick, you spoke to it just a bit before, but I would like to ask if you could describe a bit more about how your education and your work experience have combined to prepare your lead to the experience necessary to serve on the board, and how they'll lend themselves to success while a member of the board.
Well, my background, I've led as far as at a high level athletically, and it's put me in leadership positions at times. And with that leadership, you know, circling the wagon, so to speak, or making those decisions. You know, as far as my background, you know, my management degree, my leadership and leading kids in the past as far as coaching, and, you know, just all go into who I am and what I've been able to do and accomplish. And I think it all will affect my leadership style and make it all be effective.
Thank you.
When staffing shortages with paraprofessionals, reading specialists, therapists, and special education teachers affect children with special education programming, the district may be legally out of compliance with those children's individual IEPs. What measures do you think the Board of Education can take to help ensure that students with different abilities receive the support and services they're entitled to?
Well, that's a shame. When it happens, it's frustrating. With my children, I know I've got kind of a range of very highly motivated, super, you know, A student to a child that is not as motivated and struggles with that. And so making sure that communication is open with those parents, addressing their needs, understanding why potentially the situation exists, and maybe finding other resources or educational resources that potentially could minimize the shortages or gaps. I think it's just really make sure you're putting a spotlight on it and communicating and you know, managing it the best you can.
All right, in closing, do you have any questions from us or any comments you would like to make that you feel weren't addressed in the questions?
Well, I know I'm replacing Russ. You know, I've coached Russ's son in football, and I know Russ was very passionate and at times vocal. I'm friends with him, and I know he would advocate for me being selected. Not that really should have much or a little impact, but I'd like to step into his shoes and continue to lead.
All right, thank you. You can have a seat. All right, we'll move to 2.2, appointment of District 1, Position 1 Board Member.
I'd like to offer, I think it's appropriate to offer thoughts on where you're thinking for all these things as we lead into it that way. It's open, folks can see. And by saying so, I suppose it's appropriate that I say it and speak first. Right. Yeah, I'm very thankful for the folks that signed up. It's not an easy thing to do, especially for appointment, because you do put yourself in a pretty vulnerable position that's different than from an election. And doing both, I understand how difficult that could be, so thank you for doing so, and the folks that weren't here this evening. As I looked at the candidates and looked at the folks from an experience background, civic engagement, some of these things rather similar, the difference for me that came to be so key as I considered, listened tonight, and looked at the applications is, and we heard it mentioned again this evening, was item number 4 on the chart, and that is SPED excellence. That population of families, students, and even staff members, they are desperate to see progress in a fashion that is measurable, and to be able to offer them representation by a family that's experienced that firsthand, someone that is educated in that in a different way, someone that lives that on a daily basis, not only with their family, but in a work environment. I do think that lends itself to some of those things I think are incredibly valuable for us as a board when we're developing policy, listening, developing budgets, things that go around that, and how we can tackle some of the challenges we're facing. So that's where I think that representation for those families becomes so important. I did not receive a lot of feedback from the public in that regard, but the feedback I did get was from individuals in that population that asked if they could be represented better by that board than they are right now. So that's why, in my opinion, I think Julie might be the best person for this role. Patrick and I have coached for a lot of years. Our boys are the same age. I have a lot of respect. We've talked in many situations, but when it comes to this, I think that representation is what put it over the edge for who I think might serve best in that. So those are my thoughts for this evening, and offer that to the rest of the table.
We can probably just go in the line, call it good. I want to echo, first and foremost, I appreciate you guys putting yourselves out there. Also for the candidates to put themselves out that didn't make it to the finals. And regardless of who's chosen tonight, I really hope that you guys consider joining one of our committees or staying engaged. You both had a lot of really good points. And I think that the district could be served by both of you in some capacity. I will say that while I appreciated everything that Julie said, I really liked how well Patrick was able to articulate his thoughts. I also really appreciated that while SPED was mentioned several times, there was a whole picture of everything that he wanted to focus on, because there is a lot. And I'll be honest, my question was meant as a no-win situation. All 6 of those goals are just as important as the rest. And that, to me, that question was the deciding factor for me, that, you know, you were able to kind of articulate that all of them are important, but this one's the most, and all the rest of them kind of feed into that. So for me, that's where I'm kind of leaning.
I also would like to say thanks to both of you for applying, taking the time to go through this process. And as Greg said, I kind of agree that while SPED is a real issue and we really need to focus on it, we also have to focus on the entire child and the entire district, and there's a lot more to work on than just SPED. The entire district needs some help in several areas. And that's where I thought Patrick's responses were much wider and much more broad. And that's where I'm at.
some of my thunder's being stolen. I would, again, thank both of you making it to interview with us tonight. Appreciate your time away from your families and your evening. And would, again, as they've said, encourage you to be active within our community and our school district on different committees. We always have seats, and it is a really good way to get engaged. I will echo Greg and Jeff on the thoroughness of the answers encompassing the entire district. We have such a great responsibility to every student in our district, every teacher in our district, and every parent in our district. It is our community that funds these schools, and we can't ever lose sight of that. So I will thank you both for taking the time and appreciate you.
I want to thank you both as well. I'm sure you were quite nervous. But as far as the questions go, and I'll pretty much just focus on my questions. Julie, you do bring a lot to the table for SPED, but like as far as the roles of the board versus the superintendent and admin, and we struggle with this sometimes as well. We hire the superintendent, we implement policy, control the budget, but it's his job to do the day-to-day operations. I felt that one was more thoroughly answered by Patrick. And as far as the balance of education versus taxpayer, that one as well, we got to make hard decisions with the budget and provide the best education we can with that funding versus just, I pay my taxes, I got to pay my taxes. But again, as mentioned, Julie, when I looked at your application from the get-go, and I made this comment at the beginning of the board meeting Monday, no matter how it played out, as far as SPED, you bring the most to the table. And I would love to see you join that committee if you aren't selected tonight.
I also would like to thank everybody for their interest and participation. I think this is the most interest we've had in a board appointal in years, and I love to see a community engaged in our education system. I really appreciate that. I would like to reflect Heath's sentiments. I think that Julie brings a lot to the table, and yes, Julie has a very specific passion, as do we all. I'm not particularly strong in finances, and I maybe sometimes black out a little bit when we're talking about money. But I thrive when we're talking about curriculum and social emotional learning. We all bring strengths and weaknesses to the table, and that's the beauty of having seven of us up here to represent and speak on our passions for this district. I think that Julie would be an asset in that particular department that we are still lacking on, and we have so many that we have made promises to improve on. I guess with that, I would like to make a motion to appoint Julie Aldridge as a school board member for position 1.
Second.
Do we have any other motions?
I think we have to vote on that one.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Do I have any other motions?
I'll make a motion to appoint Patrick Ross.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Opposed? All right, that will bring us to, well, first off, congratulations, Pat. And again, Julie, I echo that sentiment of, or my comments. Please look into joining that committee. You would be an asset. That will bring us to 3.1, adjournment of meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 4.1, the next regularly scheduled organizational meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, July 15th at 6 PM here in the board office. If you want to mark your calendar.